the seed of forbidden love. In front of the village house, the wind swept through the dried leaves, and the air was heavy with silence. It was as if the entire nature was drawn toward that old house on the edge of the village. Here, the Yilmaz family was about to start a new life in this house. Moving in, the family, torn from the noisy streets of Istanbul and the rush of city life, had suffered a major blow when Father Murat lost his job. With no other option, they decided to move into Murat's inherited house in the village. Along with them, they brought years of suppressed secrets and hidden regrets. Elif, the mother, was in her late 30s. Time had left marks on her face, but her eyes still carried a glimmer of the beauty she had in her youth. Their 12-year-old daughter, Zeynep, was introverted and quiet, often escaping into books. Their 7-year-old son, Arda, was curious and mischievous. As Murat got out of the car and began unloading the belongings, he sighed. "There's no work, no money in the city. At least we can survive here in the village," he said. Yet behind his words was a burning anger. He was resentful toward his wife and distant with his children. The old house. As the house door opened, a heavy, musty smell spread inside, sending chills through everyone. The walls were darkened with dampness, and the ceiling was covered with spider webs. But what drew the most attention was the old wooden chest in the corner of the living room. It seemed unopened for years, with a rusty lock on it. Elif looked at the chest with a flicker of unease in her eyes. Murat noticed. "What's wrong? Why are you looking at it like that?" "Nothing. It's just, I feel like I remember this chest." Childhood memories sparked in Elif's mind. She had spent her youth in this house, but didn't want to remember certain things. The silence of night. The first night was quiet, but more terrifying than the silence was the whispering. Little Zeynep woke up at midnight to get some water and heard a faint male voice outside, whispering her name. Zeynep. Frightened, she ran to the window, but outside there were only empty trees. Moonlight streamed through the branches, casting shadows that resembled human faces. At breakfast, when Zeynep recounted the voices, Murat got angry. "Don't be ridiculous, daughter. There's nothing in this house. You're imagining things." But Elif stayed silent. She had also dreamt the entire night. In her dream, a tall man with dark eyes stared at her, extending his hand. There was a strange possessiveness, an unhealthy love in his gaze. The hidden past. The villagers had welcomed the family, but rumors began spreading. "That house is cursed. A spell was performed there long ago." An elderly woman approached Elif and looked deep into her eyes. "Something happened here when you were young, didn't it?" Elif shivered. Memories from her past attacked her mind. In her youth, racked by heartbreak, she had secretly gone to a spiritual master with a friend, seeking a spell to bind the man she loved to her. But things went wrong. The man never married her and left. Elif buried these memories deep within herself. But a being summoned by a spell never forgets. Arda's curiosity. One afternoon, while Arda was playing in the yard, his ball rolled next to the chest. Curiosity got the better of him, and he tried to open the lock. When the chest opened, old papers filled with writings, talismans, and a strand of a woman's hair fell out. As Arda held them, the wind suddenly grew fierce, and the doors of the house slammed on their own. When Elif arrived, she saw what he was holding and turned pale. "Don't touch them," she shouted. At that moment, the remnants of the spell Elif had performed in her youth resurfaced, and the spell began to awaken. The first encounter. That night, Elif couldn't sleep in the bedroom. When the door creaked open, a shadowy figure appeared. A tall man with jet-black eyes moved silently toward her. Elif tried to scream, but no sound came out. The man whispered as he approached, "I never let you go. You were mine, and you will remain mine forever." Elif trembled, tears streaming down her face. She recognized this being. It was the Djinn she had bound with her spell. Since that time, invisible chains had kept it connected to her. Murad's suspicion. In the following days, Murad noticed Elif had changed. Her eyes were distant, and her words were short and harsh. The children constantly fought. Unexplained events began happening. Objects falling, mirrors cracking. Murad began suspecting his wife of infidelity. He imagined the entity in her dreams to be a man, and believed Elif had a secret lover. But the truth was far more terrifying. On a dark village night, Elif's shadow appeared at the window. Arda and Zeynep clung to each other in fear as Elif stared outside, her eyes empty, but her lips curling into a faint smile. For in her mind, the Djinn's voice echoed, "You belong to me now." And thus, the first steps of the curse that would destroy the family had begun. The cracks in the house. Since the Yilmaz family had moved into the village house, the passing days had turned into a chain of nightmares. Doors opened on their own, plates fell from the table, and indistinct faces appeared in the mirrors. But the biggest change was in Elif's state of mind. The mother who once embraced her children, who used to stroke their hair, was gone. In her place was a distracted, sleepless woman who constantly felt as if someone's eyes were staring into hers. Murad's anger grew stronger each day. The burden of unemployment combined with the unrest in the house made him explode at the slightest argument. The children hid in their rooms, trembling with fear. The man in the dreams. Every night Elif had the same dream. A tall, dark-eyed man approached her in an old village square, saying, "You promised me." His voice was filled with love, but also carried a threatening tone. One night, the dream was different. The man stroked Elif's hair. When she recoiled in fear, he whispered, "Do not be afraid. I will protect you. But your family, they are my obstacle." When she awoke, the tips of Elif's hair were damp, as if someone had really touched her. Murad's jealousy one evening. Murad saw Elif talking to someone on the balcony at midnight, but no one was there. Elif stared into empty space, speaking in a low voice. Murad yelled at his wife in rage. "Who are you talking to? Who is that man?" "No, nobody," Elif stammered, trembling. But Murad didn't believe her. To him, his wife had a lover. This thought drove him toward jealousy and violence. Arguments in the house increased. What Zeynep saw, 12-year-old Zeynep, began following her mother at night. One evening, Elif went to the chest and pulled out the old talismans. Zeynep watched from behind the curtain. As Elif examined the talismans, a dark shadow appeared in the corner of the room. The shadow resembled a human, but its eyes burned like fire. Zeynep screamed in terror. Elif rushed to calm her, but it was too late. The Djinn had begun to appear not just to Elif, but to the children as well. The village master. Despite everything, Murad finally went to the village spiritual master. The elderly man, after listening to Murad, covered his face with his hands. A love spell was performed in that house. But love spells are the most dangerous of all, because if a Djinn binds to a human, that bond lasts until the end of days. Murad asked in shock, "Who performed this spell?" After a heavy silence, the master answered, "Your wife had it done in her youth. That being is in love with her. It will never let her go." Murad's anger grew. His love for his wife turned into hatred and a sense of betrayal. The power of the curse. From that night on, the presence of the Djinn was felt more strongly. Doors slammed violently. Objects flew into the air and crashed to the floor. Arda cried when he saw his toy cars spinning on their own in his room. One night, Murat and Elif got into a huge fight. Murat shouted, "You have a lover!" Elif yelled back, "It's not human." Murat didn't understand. At that moment, the lights in the house went out, and the shadowy Djinn appeared. Murat froze. The being before his eyes was not human, but it stared at him with the fury of a jealous man. "Elif belongs to me," it thundered. Murat stepped back, breathless. For the first time, he saw the Djinn's power with his own eyes. The threat to the children. The Djinn now sought to control not only Elif, but the children as well. Zeynep's pure soul particularly caught its attention. One night, Zeynep dreamt of the Djinn. It whispered to her, "Give me your mother. You can be free." Zeynep woke and clung to her mother. "Mom, it wants you from me." Elif's heart shattered. The curse was no longer only hers. It had fallen upon her entire family. Helplessness. The master suggested heavy rituals to break the curse, but before the ritual could be performed, Elif's past spell had to be fully revealed. The talismans hidden in the chest, the lines written in blood, a piece of cloth from her youth, all were at the center of the curse. When Elif tried to burn them, the Djinn resisted. Curtains ignited on their own, and the house filled with smoke. Elif and the children barely escaped outside. Murat realized at that moment, this being was not merely a Djinn. It was an enemy powerful enough to destroy his marriage and family. The village night was silent again, but the whispers inside the house disturbed everyone's sleep. Elif sat up in bed, Murat asleep beside her. In the corner of the room, the dark-eyed man stood like a shadow. He whispered to Elif, "They do not deserve you. You will belong to me, whether willingly or by force." Tears streamed down Elif's face. The echoing words in the room were a harbinger of the disaster to come. Whispers in the village weeks had passed since the Yilmaz family moved into the village house. The villagers now crossed themselves when passing by, and no one dared to approach it at night. Screams, breaking glass, and women's wails echoed from the house, spreading fear throughout the village. The elders whispered among themselves, "That spell in that house has returned. The sin she committed in her youth is now consuming her family." Murat's patience had worn thin. His trust in his wife was completely gone. When he looked at Elif, all he saw was anger. The children, meanwhile, grew more withdrawn with each passing day. The master's warning. The elderly master called Murat again and gave him a serious warning. "The Djinn wants to claim your wife completely, but that won't be enough. It will want to bind your children as well. If we cannot break this bond, one member of the family must be sacrificed." Murat's face darkened. "Sacrificed? What do you mean?" The master looked at the ground. "The only way to break a love spell involving a Djinn is for the person who started the spell to give their life." Murat could hardly believe it, yet deep down he felt it might be true. Each day, Elif was surrendering more to the Djinn's shadow. Elif's surrender. That night, Elif stood in front of the mirror. In the reflection, she did not see her own face, but the face of the Djinn. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Please, leave me. Let my children be safe." The Djinn reached out from the mirror and touched her. "I cannot let you go. You are my love. If you join your children with me, we will all be happy together forever." Elif's heart constricted. She realized that for her children, there was now only one choice. She had to sacrifice herself. Arda's disappearance. One night, little Arda woke to a voice coming from inside the house. It was sweet and gentle. "Come, little boy. Your toys are here." Following the voice, Arda left the house. By morning he was gone. The entire village searched, but no trace of him was found. Zainab clung to her mother, crying, "Mom, it took him. The Djinn took Arda." Elif knew in her heart the Djinn had begun moving to take her children. If it wasn't stopped, Zainab would be next. The ritual in the cemetery. As a last resort, the master prepared the ritual at the old cemetery on the edge of the village. Candles were lit, ancient prayers recited. Elif was at the center, as she was the one who had started the spell. But during the ritual, the Djinn appeared. A storm erupted in the night. Tombstones shook. The Djinn, eyes burning like fire, struck at the master and the villagers. Elif's hair whipped in the wind as the Djinn approached her. "You are mine, here now forever." Elif looked at her children with tears in her eyes. Zainab sobbed uncontrollably. Murad trembled in helplessness. The sacrifice, summoning all her strength. Elif stared into the Djinn's eyes. "If you want me, take me, but leave my children." The Djinn opened its arms. Elif took a deep breath and drove a knife into her own chest, collapsing to the ground. As her blood soaked into the earth, a terrifying scream echoed through the sky. The Djinn roared in anger. "You betrayed me." But the moment Elif's life fell to the ground, the bond of the spell was broken. Arda was found unconscious on the edge of the village. Zainab and Mura were saved. The inevitable and Elif's body remained in the cemetery. The villagers who wanted to bury her could not approach, for black smoke swirled above her, and her eyes remained open. The master whispered in a trembling voice, "Her soul could not be saved. The Djinn took her. She is no longer among us, but she will find no peace in the afterlife either." Murad sank to his knees. The anger he had felt toward his wife was replaced by indescribable regret. He held his children close, but an emptiness shattered his heart. As moonlight bathed the village, a faint whisper rose from the cemetery. It was Elif's voice. "I am here," and the Djinn's laughter merged with the darkness of the night, for love had turned into a curse, and Elif's soul would remain imprisoned in the Djinn's grasp forever.